Hey everyone, here's a quick video on why you should invest in Bitcoin and not crypto. So a lot of people make the mistake once they get into Bitcoin and start understanding it of thinking, wow, this technology must have a lot of applications and maybe I should diversify my investments and buy a little bit of Bitcoin, a little bit of Litecoin, a little bit of Bitcoin Cash, maybe some Dogecoin, maybe some Shiba Inu. And they don't realize that all of that stuff is probably going to zero. The reason for that is that electronic cash currency markets tend toward a single dominant player. Most technology markets do that. In the case of like Google is very dominant compared to any other search engine. Money tends to not have a duopoly like the iPhone versus Android phone. You just don't end up with more than one winner in money. And the way you can predict what the winner is going to be is a couple different ways. One is what is the most secure network. And in the case of, which in cryptocurrencies is measured by hash rate, Bitcoin has some crazy high 90% of all the hash rate of all the cryptocurrencies, something like 97% or something very high. So Bitcoin is far more secure than any other cryptocurrency. Bitcoin also has an anonymous creation, which is extremely valuable to have the conversation around Bitcoin be about the technology and not who created it. There's nobody in the background to influence it. Bitcoin's been through all of the battles, all of the schisms, it's battle hardened in a way that no other cryptocurrency is by a long shot. So there's like a million reasons Bitcoin is going to win, but I want to point to one specifically, because if you go back to the very beginning of time and you had to predict which precious metal was going to win the race to be the most valuable precious metal. And just for comparison, gold, the physical yellow rock, all of the gold in the world is worth something like $16 trillion. I did not check before this video, but it's in the ballpark of 15 or $16 trillion. The next closest is silver, which is worth just over $1 trillion. So gold, all the gold in the world is worth more than 10, almost 15 times as much as all the silver in the world. And all the silver in the world is worth way more than all of the, whatever, bronze, copper, all of that. Well, the way you know what's going to be the winner in the long run in precious metals is something called stock to flow, which is how hard is it to dig this thing out of the ground. And so with a monetary metal, you want something that's scarce, which means you want something that's as hard as possible to dig in out of the ground. So throughout history, it's been about 16 times, 1/6. It's been about 16 times as hard to dig an ounce of gold out of the ground as it is to dig an ounce of silver out of the ground. And other monetary metals are much easier to dig out of the ground even than silver. So from the beginning of time, if somebody just said, hey, you got to pick the winner, then the way you would do that is you would say, okay, I'm going to spend a year or two mining, and I'm going to see what kind of different ore I can get from different parts of the world, and I'm going to see how hard is it to get an ounce of gold, an ounce of silver, an ounce of bronze, an ounce of copper, an ounce of tin, an ounce of whatever. And you would find at the end of that process that gold was 16 times as hard to get an ounce of as silver, and silver was way, 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 way harder to get an ounce of than bronze. Bronze was a lot harder to get an ounce of than tin, and it just, all the monetary metals fall on some spectrum. So you could have decided from the very beginning that you're going to put all your effort into accumulating a bunch of gold, which way back hundreds of years ago, you could have accumulated a huge amount of gold because it wasn't clear, if you go far enough back in history, it wasn't clear which precious metal was going to win. And you could have accumulated, if you go back hundreds and thousands of years, you could have accumulated a huge amount of gold before it really became extremely valuable for its monetary properties. Well, that is the technical term. The economic term is stock to flow. Stock is how much already exists above ground of a given metal or of given whatever. Flow is how much new there is on an annual basis, which again, that ratio, the stock to flow ratio, is what measures how scarce something is, how hard it is. And when people talk about hard money, they're referring to how hard it is to make more of. In the case of precious metals, how hard it is to dig more out of the ground. In the case of cryptocurrency, how hard it is to make more of that precious, scarce, whatever it is. So Bitcoin has, it is by far the most secure, and it's got a stock to flow ratio that's even scarcer than gold. So Bitcoin today, as of April 19, the halving, where the amount of new Bitcoin produced every 4 years dropped in half back in April 14 of this year. On that day, Bitcoin became more scarce than gold. So if you were from Mars, if you were a Martian or something, and you came to the Earth and you said, I am going to do that same experiment. I'm going to figure out all of the precious metals. I'm going to do cryptocurrency mining. I'm going to do all this other stuff to figure out what is the hardest to make more of. You would come to the conclusion that the only thing that has a secure network that meets the core monetary properties of being money. And again, that's not something like the Mona Lisa painting, because you could say, well, that's even more scarce. There's only one Mona Lisa. It's like, yeah, but it doesn't have any of the monetary properties of divisibility, durability, portability, authenticatability, all of the things that make money, the Mona Lisa doesn't have. Obviously it's not, using the Mona Lisa as money is not a good way to do it. But anyway, if you evaluated everything that could be used as money, you would come to the conclusion that Bitcoin is twice as scarce as gold. It meets all of the monetary properties and then some, and it does so in a much, much, much more effective and better way. So the conclusion of all of that is to say, if you have the opportunity to invest in Bitcoin, specifically BTC, Bitcoin, the real Bitcoin that was invented in 2008/launched in 2009. That is the only thing in the crypto world that is worth investing in my opinion. Virtually all of the other stuff in crypto is either a scam or a joke, or the founders own 60% of it and they're just waiting for the price to go up so they can dump their part of it on the marketplace. There's just a huge amount of just insanity in the crypto world, with the one really true, really real thing being Bitcoin. Now, some of the smart contract platforms, maybe it's Ethereum, maybe it's Solana, maybe it's something else, certainly could create value in the future, but it's still way too early to figure out which of those platforms will be the smart contract platform of choice. Those are utility platforms, so people use them for utility. It's similar to like whale oil versus kerosene versus whatever. People were not attached to whale oil. They were using it to heat their houses, or light, I guess more likely light their houses. When kerosene came along, everybody was like, oh, this works better, and they switched. So if you had accumulated a massive amount of whale oil thinking this is going to make me rich, about the time that everybody figured out kerosene could light their houses too, you'd be sitting on a bunch of worthless whale oil. Well, the same is in the process of happening with most cryptocurrencies and even smart contract platforms, that people are like, hey, maybe I'm using Ethereum now, but maybe it's Solana tomorrow. Maybe it's Cardano the next day. Maybe it's, I don't know. The winner in smart contract platforms may not have been invented yet. So trying to pick that and trying to make money by picking the winner in cryptocurrency and quote crypto is a loser's game. I mean, you're better off stock picking the stock market or penny stocks or anything like that. But if you want to have your wealth increase, incredibly over time, Bitcoin will enable you to do that. So Bitcoin has already won the race. It already has the best stock to flow ratio. It already has an anonymous creation. It's already more than $1 trillion asset. It's already used all over the world. It's already the scarcest thing that has monetary properties. Like the race is already won. It's just a matter of Bitcoin continuing to go up by another 20x its current value, and then it will be the default monetary system of the world. So the question is, do you want to be on that train as Bitcoin goes up 20x? Because anything else you can possibly buy that's going to give you a 20x return has insane risk associated with it. Nothing you could buy, I don't think, in the entire world that gives you a 1,000%, 2,000% potential return on your money. Nothing you could buy in the entire world has a better risk profile and a lower risk than Bitcoin. So the risk-reward ratio for Bitcoin, in my opinion, is better than any other asset in the entire world. Therefore, I'm a big fan. So, as always, if you've got questions, feel free to text me, 601-207-0813. Number again, 601-207-0813. Also, you can message me on Facebook. Just make sure it's the real me. There are various scam accounts that pop up now and then. They have no friends. They blur out my picture. It's just, you go to the profile page and it's just very obviously, and I'm usually a personal coach. All the scammers by default make me a personal coach. They're like too lazy to even copy and paste my profile description. But anyway, if you do interact with me, make sure you're messaging the real me, which is the real account that's posting this real video. And I'm always happy to help you on your Bitcoin journey. Have a great day and a great week ahead. Thanks.